myself, and so sometimes I think that's okay to be feisty and to be yourself, but I'm excited to play in front of the fans. I think that she's drawn a lot of people, not only to Indiana but to the women's game as a whole, and so just to be a part of something great, just really happy to be here.
I grew up playing the basketball with the boys, so like it's always been physical and feisty, and like that's what it is, and you got to find a way to hold your.
Did the WNBA just try to turn off the sun and hope nobody noticed? That's what it feels like right now. 2 minutes ago, the feeds blew up with one sentence that stopped time. Caitlin Clark is out. Resigned, benched, erased, depending on which corner of the internet you're standing in. That's the headline. That's the heart attack. And whether you call it an exit or a disappearance, the effect is the same. Fans stunned, teammates shell-shocked, an arena suddenly colder than it was 5 minutes before. Here's the confirmed reality inside the chaos. The face of the league is no longer on the floor. The league isn't explaining why, and the silence is swallowing everything else. Why does this matter right now? Because Clark wasn't just scoring. She was doing alchemy. She was converting indifference into sold-out seats, curiosity into TV ratings, highlight reels into new believers. You don't just remove that kind of gravity and expect the planet to keep orbiting. And I'm not here because I like conspiracies. I'm here because the receipts are piling up. Game logs, minute charts, sideline clips, the before/after of league socials, and they all point to a story bigger than a strategic rotation. Here's what we're going to unpack, and I'll pay off every piece. First, the spark that turned a whisper into a wildfire. Sophie Cunningham's on-air detonation that felt less like an interview and more like a courtroom opening statement. Then, the moment two players sat shoulder to shoulder and said the quiet part out loud, an interview that pulled the curtains so hard the rod bent. And in between those two blasts, Lexie Hull's one-sentence dagger, the corporate statement that backfired spectacularly, and a fanbase that became its own investigative unit. Click confirmed. Public outrage engaged. Now the twist. Maybe this isn't just a controversy about one player. Maybe it's a referendum on how much power players, especially the ones who build the house, are allowed to have inside it. Quick proof? Watch what sponsors do next. Roadmap set. Let's go. Sophie first, because the second-best card always belongs up front. The night the league kept quiet, she didn't. Post-game mic, standard questions, and then she dropped the sentence that made every PR executive sit up straight. You don't sit your biggest star unless you're scared of what she can do. Not yelled, not whispered, stated. Context: the world's still spinning from the report that Clark is out. No injuries listed, no disciplinary sheet, no travel issues, no groin tightened day-to-day. Just out. Application: Sophie's line reframed the story from "why isn't she playing?" to "who's afraid of her power?" That's a different ballgame. Framing: expectation was that the league would safeguard its meteor because meteors draw crowds. Reality is the spotlight dimmed right after Clark reportedly challenged some very high-level ideas about how the league markets itself. If you think that's coincidence, you haven't been online today. And then the strongest card, the one you save for the second beat, landed like a gavel. A joint sit-down, Sophie and Lexie side by side. Zero fluff. The camera red light woke up and Sophie fired the line that echoed far beyond one locker room. If this is how you treat the player who built your league, no one's safe. Beat. Silence. That sentence didn't ask for a reply. It forced a reckoning. Lexie followed with the simplest rebellion there is. We've been told to be quiet for too long. Not anymore. Context: official channels still speaking in vanilla. Press releases airbrushed and odorless. Rotation: suddenly the most convenient word in sports. Application: those two lines turned passive confusion into active alignment. Players who'd been liking posts in the shadows started sharing them in daylight. Fans who'd been yelling at clouds started tagging sponsors. Framing: expectation was that players toe the line. Reality is two athletes drew a new one and then dared the league to cross it. Before that joint blast, Lexie had already fired her warning shot in a press room. No dramatic preamble, just a sentence that landed like a threat and a prayer. If Caitlin Clark can be handled like this, what do you think happens to the rest of us? Context: practice end, cameras up, team in limbo. Application: she shifted the frame from celebrity drama to workplace policy. This wasn't about one celebrity guard anymore. It was about every rookie, every vet, every mid-contract player who's ever been told the team values their voice as long as that voice stays at a respectable volume. Framing: expectation was that the locker room would fracture into factions. Reality looked more like a quiet union of the fed up. Hours later, Lexie posted a black and white photo with Clark and a single caption: loyalty. Not a paragraph. A pressure point. Fans read it as a vow. Execs read it as a warning. Both were right. Meanwhile, the crowd outside didn't just chant. They investigated. The internet became a war room. Clips resurfaced of Clark getting hammered on drives without a whistle. Timelines sprouted showing how her minutes dipped right after. According to whispers, she challenged those tone-deaf marketing plans in a private meeting. Fans stitched side-by-side comparisons of how often the league's own channels featured her before versus after. Context: a million amateur analysts. One shared question: what changed? Application: that massive small data points became a single, loud conclusion for the public. If the basketball reasons are so clear, why won't you say them out loud? Framing: expectation was that silence suffocates a story. Reality is that silence fertilizes it. The less the league explained, the more the fans documented. Every no comment was an accelerant. Here's where the league could have stabilized the ship. Instead, they sprayed Febreze on a 5-alarm fire. After 2 days of nothing, an official statement appeared, polished, sterile, and allergic to specifics. It didn't say Clark's name. It didn't say injury. It didn't say discipline. It said rotation and asked everyone to trust the process. That phrase used to end arguments. Now it starts memes. Context: an audience that had already been pulling game film like it's the Zapruder reel. Application: that corporate paragraph landed like a dare. Players answered with emoji louder than essays. Sophie's eye roll became the mood board of the moment. Lexie reposted the statement with a line that sliced. So we're calling this normal? Framing: expectation was that a press release would reduce friction. Reality was a new wave of combustion. Refund requests, merch dips, sponsors suddenly looping and legal, and comment sections turning highlight posts into depositions. The sponsor piece matters because money always speaks in complete sentences. Quiet emails started humming behind the scenes, brand partners asking for clarity before the next rollout. That's corporate for fix it or we pause. Context: these are relationships that took years to land and seconds to spook. Application: the WNBA's choice tree narrowed. Either address the core issue honestly or keep tap dancing while the band packs up. Framing: expectation was that sponsors buy the feel-good of growth. Reality is they buy stability. The minute stability looks performative, they start pricing escape routes. Now the part nobody wants to talk about but everyone feels: the locker rooms. This kind of crisis scrambles chemistry. Friendships get quiet. Meetings get sharp. Some veterans caution patience. Some rookies refuse to become cautionary tales. And in that tension, a question slips under the door. Who are you with, the badge or the truth? That's poisonous if you let it sit. Context: multiple teams holding player-only huddles that aren't about pick-and-roll coverage. Application: small alliances forming, not to burn the league down but to stop being told that the match isn't lit while everyone smells smoke. Framing: expectation was that the storm would blow past. Reality is it's reorganizing the coastline. Let's rewind to the origin point. The rumor nobody could put back in the bottle. The whispers say Clark sat in a private meeting and challenged how the league sells itself, and by extension, sells her. Not rudely, not recklessly, directly.
A critique?
That the marketing felt top-down and tone-deaf to the people actually showing up. Context: a rookie who turned arenas into festivals overnight daring to ask why the tent still looks half-built. Application: within 48 hours, her minutes tighten. Within 72, she's seated when she should be sprinting. Within 96, we're arguing over whether she stepped away or was pushed out of frame. Framing: expectation was that the league would reward initiative. Reality is that initiative can look like insubordination if your comfort is the thing being challenged. And while this played out, the fans kept building a public case file. TikTok timelines with freeze frames of missed contact. Reddit threads drawing clean charts of minute allocations that make fatigue management sound like a bedtime story. Ex-threaders posting before/after screenshots of league socials that went from daily Clark clips to a weird, careful quiet. Context: none of these pieces prove motive. Together they prove momentum.